Welcome to Life, Love, and Jesus as we're continuing our journey through God's Word, following a chronological reading plan from Blue Letter Bible. And you can find that link in the show notes. And I know we're drawing near the end of the year, and you may be just catching on to these videos right now. That chronological reading plan will start you over. You can start at any time of the year. I love the fact that, let me see if I have my copy. Yeah. It is, my copy is kind of a little dog-eared and got notes and things written on it, but there's no dates. There's no dates assigned to it. So I've missed some days this year, and you will miss some days most likely as well. You can start it at any time of the year, and if you miss some days, just you'll know. I cross mine off when I do them. Sometimes I write notes next to them when I'm supposed to be doing them, and then I look at it and say, well, I missed that. But you can start it whenever. Get that guide and follow along, starting back in Genesis if you want to, or start in January 1st with reading through the goal to read through the Bible, however you do it. But it's a great guide and it's free. You can just download it from Blue Letter Bible. So I hope you do that if you're just now finding these videos. And with that said, let's just jump into today's content. We are in Matthew chapter 2 today. And just one chapter, probably a very familiar chapter to most of you. And so let's just look at God's Word and see what we can learn from it. This is the chapter that tells us about the visit of the wise men to worship the baby Jesus. And I just want to point out a few things in this chapter to you. Like I said, and we only have one chapter today, so I can spend a little bit more time in it. So we don't have 3, 4, 5 chapters to cram in. And it starts out by telling us about the wise men. Jesus was born in Bethlehem, and the wise men saw the star, and they've come to Jerusalem, because that's where kings are in the nation of Israel. That's where the kings, the rulers are. And they've come to Jerusalem, and they've asked, well, where is he who is born King of the Jews? And of course, Herod, who is the governor, not the king of Israel, but he likes to be called king anyways. He's underneath the Roman Empire. He's not really the ultimate authority as a king usually was. But he's kind of disturbed by this. Like, I'm king. What do you mean another king? And so he sends to the priests, and he asks the priests, where is this new king supposed to be born according to the prophecies? And the priests answer him, quoting from the book of Micah. In verse 6, it says, and you, O Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means the least among the rulers of Judah, for from you shall come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel. And so they tell Herod this, and then Herod tells the wise men, the king was born in Bethlehem, go find him, and when you find him, come back and tell me so I can go worship him. So they leave him, and they see the star again, and they go to the house where Jesus is. Now note that they are in a house now. They're no longer in the cave or the barn or shelter, wherever they were when Jesus was first born. They have stayed in Bethlehem for probably about 2 years. Why they stayed there, maybe Joseph, with his carpentry skills, was making a good living, and maybe they had relatives in the area. We know Elizabeth and Zachariah were nearby, and they wanted to stay for a while. We don't know, but we know they stayed because that's where they are. So they stayed there for a while, and the wise men find them in the house where they're living now. And they come in and they worship Jesus, this little toddler now, and they give gifts to Mary and Joseph to honor Jesus, and really because he's the king. And the gifts are gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And a lot of biblical scholars think that some of those gifts, the very, very valuable gifts, were used to support their family when they had to flee, which is right after this. And then the wise men were warned in a dream by an angel not to go back to Herod. And so they left the country a different way and went back to their homeland, probably back to the region of Babylon. And just as a side note, they had probably learned about the prophecies of the Messiah and been looking for a star because of the prophecies of Daniel, who was in Babylon and laid out the timeline for the Messiah in his prophecies. So just, FYI there, in case you've never wondered why they showed up. It's probably because of the legacy of Daniel's faithfulness in prophecy. And then so they leave, and Herod finds out they've left, and he gets very irritated. Well, very irritated. He gets very angry about it, and he determines he's going to have to eliminate this new king, and he plans to kill all the baby boys. Well, of course, the Lord knows this, and so the Lord warns Joseph in a dream to take the baby and his mother and flee to Egypt. And this is to fulfill another prophecy saying that I have called my son out of Egypt. And so Joseph does that. He goes and he rescues what would have been the murder of Jesus. But Herod still goes on and murders all the baby boys in Bethlehem under 2 years old. And that's probably not just in the town, but in the outer regions as well. And so we see a quote from Jeremiah here in verse 18. A voice was heard in Ramah, weeping and loud lamentation, Rachel weeping for her children. She refused to be comforted because they are no more. A prophecy about the great sorrow that would come on the land of Bethlehem and Judea because of the murderous rampage of Herod at the time of the birth of the Messiah. And then the chapter ends with, after the death of Messiah, an angel again comes to Joseph. So now this is the third time an angel has come to Joseph and told him what to do. They are still in Egypt, and he says, the ones that wanted you dead have now died. Go back to the land. Because of Jesus, of course, he's a Jew. He's a Jewish Messiah. He has to go back to the land. And so Joseph does, but he hears that Herod's son, I believe it is now on the throne there in Jerusalem, and he decides, well, maybe we don't go back right next door to the guy that wanted to murder Jesus. So instead they went back to their hometown of Nazareth. That's the content for today, and then we always go to our 3 questions. What do I learn about the Lord? What do I learn about myself? And what do I need to obey, change, or do because of what I've learned in God's Word today? And I am going to read to you my answer to question number 2. What do I learn about myself? And this is really not really something I learn about myself, but something I need to encourage myself to do. I need to be as quick to obey the Lord and His Word as the wise men and Joseph were. The wise men were told, don't go back to Herod, and they didn't. They did what they were told. And Joseph was visited by an angel 3 times, once to say, go ahead and marry, take as a wife Mary. She's not been unfaithful to you. Once to say, flee to Egypt, because some people are seeking to kill your son, Jesus. And wants to say, the threat is over, now go back home. And he obeyed every single time. And I just need to be having a heart of obedience like Joseph did and like the wise men did. How are you answering those questions today? What are you learning in God's Word today? How are you growing in your faith today? Thank you for joining me here today. Please come back again tomorrow as we're continuing to learn from God's Word and grow in our faith. Like and subscribe and share this video with your friends and family. And I will see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful day living for the Lord.